No one could handle the billionaire's twin daughters. Arabella and Annalise Sterling were 8 years old, identical in face but opposite in spirit. Arabella was fiery and bold, Annalise quiet yet calculating. Together, they were unstoppable chaos. They had driven away over a dozen nannies, 3 tutors, and even their personal chef. Rumors at Sterling Academy said that the twins were cursed, too spoiled, too broken, too powerful for anyone to tame. Their father, Damian Sterling, one of the richest men in the country, owned half the tech industry but couldn't control his own daughters. After his wife's death, he buried himself in work, leaving the twins to be raised by cold tutors and frightened staff. The mansion was immaculate, but the laughter had died long ago. One chilly autumn morning, a new janitor arrived at Sterling Academy. His name was Ethan Carter, a quiet, broad-shouldered man in his mid-30s with gentle eyes and the look of someone who had lived through storms. He wasn't there for glamour or to climb the ladder, he was there for survival. A single dad to a 6-year-old girl named Mia, Ethan had lost his wife 3 years ago in a car accident. Since then, he had been doing every odd job he could find to give Mia a stable life. When the academy offered him a janitorial position, he took it without question. He didn't expect to become a part of the Sterling family's story, or change their lives forever. That first day, while mopping the polished marble floors near the music room, Ethan heard shouting. 2 voices, high-pitched and angry. Then came the sharp crack of something breaking. He rushed toward the sound and found the twins in the middle of a mess. A broken violin on the ground, a teacher clutching her head, and 2 furious girls glaring at each other. "She called me a fake musician," Arabella screamed. "Because you are," Annalise shot back, tears in her eyes. The teacher tried to calm them, but they turned on her too, throwing insults so sharp that she finally stormed out. The other staff stayed away, muttering that it wasn't worth the trouble. But Ethan, who knew too well what loneliness looked like, couldn't walk away. He bent down, picked up the violin, and inspected it. "This isn't broken," he said softly. "It just needs care." Arabella crossed her arms, scowling. "You're just a janitor. What would you know about violins?" Ethan smiled faintly. "I used to play for my daughter. She liked the way it sounded when I played her favorite song." Something in his voice, something tender and genuine, made Annalise pause. Instead of scolding them, he sat on the floor and began to tell them a story about a musician who broke his violin but learned to fix it by listening to the strings. The twins listened, despite themselves. When their teacher returned, she froze at the sight of them sitting quietly around the janitor, heads tilted, eyes wide. It was the first time anyone had seen them calm in months. The story spread through the school like wildfire. The janitor tamed the Sterling twins. A few days later, Damian Sterling himself appeared at the academy. Tall, composed, and intimidating, he carried the air of a man used to control. He found Ethan in the hallway, helping the twins with their lunch trays. "You must be the man everyone's talking about," Damian said, his tone laced with disbelief. Ethan straightened. "Just doing my job, sir." "And what exactly did you do?" Damian pressed. "They've terrorized every teacher here." Ethan shrugged. "I listened." That answer unsettled Damian. He was a man who solved problems with money and logic, not emotion. Yet here was this janitor, this ordinary man, doing something he couldn't. Over the next few weeks, Damian watched from a distance. His daughters were changing. They laughed more. They argued less. They began drawing pictures of a man with a mop and a little girl with curly hair. They called him Mr. Ethan. One afternoon, after school, Arabella fell off the soccer field bleachers and scraped her knee. Before anyone could move, Ethan was there, kneeling beside her, cleaning the wound gently. "You're okay," he murmured. "Don't be afraid to fall. That's how we learn to stand stronger." Arabella nodded through her tears, something inside her softening. When Annalise joined them, Ethan joked, "See, every hero has a scar. You'll need one too if you want to look cool." The girls laughed. From the far end of the field, Damian watched silently, hands in his pockets, realizing that this man had given his daughters something he had not: attention. That evening, He summoned Ethan to his office. "You've done something remarkable," Damien said, pacing behind his desk. "My daughters adore you. I want to make you their personal caretaker. Name your price." Ethan hesitated. "Sir, they don't need another employee. They need their father." Damien froze, unaccustomed to anyone speaking to him that way. "Are you telling me how to raise my children?" "No," Ethan replied calmly. "I'm telling you what they're asking for without words." The meeting ended in silence, but the next morning, Damien canceled 2 business meetings and had breakfast with his daughters for the first time in a year. They were stunned, unsure of how to act. Damien was awkward, trying to make small talk, but when he mentioned Ethan's daughter, Mia, both girls lit up. "Can she come over sometime?" they asked in unison. Damien, almost smiling, agreed. That small spark would grow into something none of them expected. Part 2. A week later, the Sterling mansion prepared for guests. For the first time, laughter echoed through the halls as the twins helped decorate cookies for Mia's visit. When Ethan arrived with his daughter, she clung shyly to his leg until the twins pulled her into their room to show her their toys. Within minutes, the sound of giggles filled the air. Damien, watching from the balcony, felt something stir in his chest, a mixture of nostalgia and guilt. He had once imagined his family filled with that same laughter before his wife's illness took it all away. Over dinner, Mia's innocent chatter seemed to melt the icy tension that had long defined the Sterling home. She asked Damien if he ever played board games, and when he admitted he didn't, she handed him a dice. "You can learn tonight," she said simply. The billionaire, who was feared in boardrooms across the country, found himself laughing as he lost to a 6-year-old. Ethan observed quietly, his heart warming at the sight. When the storm rolled in later that evening, thunder cracked over the mansion, and the lights flickered out. The twins screamed from upstairs. Before Damien could react, Ethan had already grabbed a flashlight and raced toward their voices. He found the girls huddled together, trembling. "Hey," he said softly, kneeling beside them. "When I was little, I used to be scared of thunder too. But my dad told me that every lightning flash was the sky taking a picture of our bravery. Want to try smiling for it?" The twins giggled through their tears. "Okay," Annalise whispered, "but only if you smile too." Ethan flashed the light at them, and they laughed when the thunder clapped again. Damien arrived moments later, breathless, watching from the doorway as Ethan comforted his daughters with calm patience. For the first time in years, Damien didn't see 2 spoiled heiresses, he saw his little girls, vulnerable and human. "Thank you," he said quietly after Ethan tucked them in. Ethan only nodded. "They just need someone who doesn't run when they cry." The next morning, Damien asked Ethan to stay, not as a janitor, but as something more permanent. "I want you to help me reconnect with them," he said. "I don't know how anymore." Ethan hesitated, unsure if he was crossing a line, but the sincerity in Damien's voice convinced him. And so, days turned into weeks. Ethan became a part of their routine, helping with school projects, teaching the twins to cook simple meals, showing Damien how to spend time without turning it into a business meeting. Even the staff began to notice the difference. The mansion, once silent, now buzzed with laughter. Mia, too, found a family she never knew she needed. The twins adored her, often calling her their little sister, and Damien found himself oddly attached to her as well. One evening, as the 4 children built a pillow fort in the living room, Damien joined them on impulse, sitting cross-legged in a suit worth more than the furniture. "You look ridiculous," Ethan teased. "Maybe," Damien chuckled, "but I don't remember the last time ridiculous felt this good." Then came Christmas Eve. The estate hosted its annual charity gala, a grand affair attended by the elite. This year, though, it was different. Instead of cold decorations and business deals, the twins insisted on having a toy drive for orphan children. They worked with Mia and Ethan to wrap presents, their faces glowing with joy. During the event, as music filled the ballroom, Damien stood on stage to make his annual speech. But this time, his voice wavered. "Every year, I've spoken about success and growth. But this year, I learned something more important. Family isn't built by wealth, it's built by those who show up when you need them most." His eyes found Ethan's in the crowd. "This man taught me that." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the audience as Damien continued. "Ethan Carter came here as a janitor, but he became the heart of this home. He reminded my daughters how to laugh and reminded me how to live." He paused, his voice heavy with emotion. "Thank you, Ethan, for giving us back something priceless." Ethan, embarrassed but deeply moved, bowed slightly. The twins ran to him, throwing their arms around his waist, followed by Mia, who hugged them all. Damien joined, placing his hands on his daughter's shoulders. For the first time since his wife's death, he didn't feel broken. He felt whole. That night, after the guests left and the snow began to fall outside, the fire crackled softly in the grand hall. Ethan sat with Mia asleep beside him, and Damien poured them both a glass of cider. "You changed everything," Damien said quietly. "You didn't just fix them, you fixed me." Ethan smiled, looking at the sleeping girls. "Sometimes, the hardest messes aren't on the floor, Mr. Sterling. They're in the heart." Damien nodded slowly. "Then maybe it's time I start cleaning up mine." They shared a quiet laugh. Outside, snowflakes drifted against the window, and inside, the billionaire's mansion, once a cold palace of glass and silence, had finally become a home filled with warmth, laughter, and love. And all because a single dad janitor believed that no child, no matter how broken, was beyond healing.